Where integrity leads, trust follows, and progress sustains. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, ICAI, is the largest and the premier accounting body in the world. It has stood as a pillar of financial integrity and contributed significantly to the economic growth of our nation for over 7 decades. Today, the role of chartered accountant has evolved far beyond traditional domains of accounting, auditing, and taxation. Through initiatives like specialized knowledge programs, national conferences, CFO summits, awards, and leadership development, ICAI is empowering members and creating a dynamic ecosystem that enables our members to excel, innovate, and contribute meaningfully to the nation's economic growth.
The role of chartered accountants today has evolved as a strategic advisors of the modern businesses. No longer merely the custodians of financial integrity, today's CAs serve as value creators and risk navigators who steer the organization through complexities of global markets and emerging technologies. Today's chartered accountants hold key leadership roles as CEOs, CFOs, and expert policy makers. They are the ones leading the charge when it comes to the good governance and financial well-being. By fostering this community of excellence, we directly contribute to the nation's economic resilience and industrial growth.
We are having 80% of the younger generation of the chartered accountants in industry and business. One can very well understand the expectation of the members, particularly the younger generation of the chartered accountants in industry and business. And with the help and support of all of you, the seniors, they are getting the best of the opportunities. And we are very well aware that no economy of the world can really go ahead, can really prosperous unless and until there is very, very active contribution of the members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Through using technology, through GCC, I think lakhs of chartered accountants are contributing for the other parts of the world. No balance sheet practically can be finalized with the very, very active contribution of the members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India.
The value creation in today's world is just not about growth. It is about the responsible growth, and it is not about just profit, but it is profit with purpose, and it is all about transformation with trust. It gives us the directions, discipline, credibility, and it helps to bring solution to certainty and evolving to the scale and innovation.
Global stage, better corporate governance has become a necessity, not because it eases business, but it also is a good financial decision because it reduces cost, it increases better corporate governance, better investor confidence in your company. So you are having better access to long-term capital. Then you are also having better resilience through stressful times. People will stick along longer to you if you really believe that corporate governance principles are something that you adhere to. So those are things that will stay on for long.
And we are going to talk today on a subject which is BANI. Many of us would have heard the word VUCA, VUCA. We were living in a VUCA world until now. And now a gentleman, Jamias Carcos in Palo Alto, California, tells us that this decade is not VUCA, it is BANI. Let's go straight to our panelists and try and get sense from them on what do they see. In the interest of time, I'll first go to Nanda sir. Sir, when we talk about BANI, B is brittle. BANI also has a very close connection with the North India faith, the Punjabi faith in terms of BANI. But let's talk about brittle as a feature, sir, in BANI, and what are your thoughts in that?
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. When you speak of BANI, you have to relate it with VUCA, volatility and brittle. I start my discussion with a couplet. The couplet says, अपने हौसलों को खबर करते रहो, अपने हौसलों को खबर करते रहो, जिंदगी मंजिल नहीं सफर है चलते रहो. You can't stop at a place. Volatility means the base is sure. You move on that. Volatility in oil prices, volatility in stock markets, gold, bullions, everything is fine, but the base is safe. Brittle means it is standing stiff. झुकेगा नहीं, टूट जाएगा. So the most important thing to come out of brittle is to understand the meaning of one word, resilience. Resilience means coming back, either from psychological issues or from health issues or from financial issues. So when a company feels it is being affected at the inception, it has to come out, it has to recoup. That is brittle. I give you so many examples. Look at the global supply chains. They were all very efficiently working until COVID-19 came. Immediately the entire cycle stopped. The world was affected. The international supplies stopped. Even national supplies stopped. People were, and the economy was at a standstill. The only important state which a CFO needs to have is to have the ability to understand, the ability to advocate what will come, ability to foresee what will come, and then give a corrective means to it. So with respect to brittle, I'll give three very small suggestions. Number one, be vigilant of the contemporary situations. Don't look at India alone, look at the international markets. Number two, have a call at all facets of risks. May it be currencies, may it be derivatives, may it be real estate, may it be systems, oil, data, anything that may damage you. And third and final thing, as a CFO, have a resilient role. A role to accept what has come and a role to immediately go ahead and see that it is mitigated. Thank you.
Perfectly said. I think the concept of BANI, brittle, is mitigated by resilience. Even in fact, that framework talks about resilience as an answer to brittle. Abha, let's go with your initials in terms of anxiousness. And that's the second element of BANI. And you are also from the internal audit profile. When some of us sit on the board, we look up to internal audit teams as an answer to our anxiety in terms of processes, systems, etc. How do you deal with the anxiousness more from a psychology level and also from an organization level?
Thanks. Just on a lighter note, I'm glad you said that, because what we're usually told is when we enter the room, the anxiety begins. But I think having said that, I think a lot more is around communication. I think we're human beings. Obviously, anxiety and fear is unavoidable. But I think if we learn, and I'm giving examples closer to the BFSI sector that I come from, I think we'll see a lot of institutions which are getting wiped out, not because of capital, but also because of confidence, right? So dealing with humans, explaining things, transparency becomes extremely important. Just to give an example, I think we all know what happened with Meta or what happened with Southwest Airlines. I think internet has improved communication and hence things are much faster. So I think any news travels, whether good or bad, travels much faster. So as CFOs in the room, I think what I'll urge you all is don't give numbers. I think communicate a narrative for the future. I think that will help address a lot of anxiety. Also in terms of planning for the future, I would say a CFO would not be somebody who's a chief finance officer, but a chief foresight officer or a chief future officer who really is able to help prepare the organization for future and hence reduce the anxiety in the system.
The next is non-linear. And if you talk about an example of crude, at the beginning of the decade in 2021-22, crude price was negative. During COVID, there was a problem of storing crude. It was minus 30 at a point in time. And now we are at a situation where crude is touching 3 digits. Just early in February, there was a report to say that crude will be at 50 and the war breakouts and crude becomes at this gigantic number. In such kind of non-linearity, Mr. Raj, how do you as the finance function navigate and to some extent, investors prefer linearity in your P&L, be it projections, be it profitability, be it growth, and you are living in a situation which is non-linear. How do you manage your P&L in a sense that those shocks are absorbed?
There is a saying that change is continuous, but now I think I would like to say adaptability is continuous. Until you adapt, you will not be able to do anything. And our profession, the chartered accountants, are in a crossroad as far as this is concerned. I passed this course in late 90s. At that point of time, our vision was restricted to audit, accounts and tax, that to direct tax, because we were the first batch who were taught indirect tax, so there were not many chartered indirect taxes, right? But now, if we have a CA who said, I will only restrict myself to audit, tax, direct taxes and accounts, would he step into leadership role? The answer is absolutely no. If I ask another question, well, you go to leadership role and you don't have competence in these three, whether you cannot go to leadership role, the answer is also a big no. So means what you've had, now we have to build more to it. You build a 4-story building, now the requirement is we need a 10-story building. You have to put layers to it. So that's the adaptability. At one point of time, I was very proud being a fraternity. We were told that CAs are custodian of numbers. Yes, we are and we will be, but that's not enough. Today, the role is different. We have to adapt to a new role, that is a strategist, a role of connecting the dots and making things happen.
Absolutely. I think the stated mitigant to non-linear shocks is adaptability, both at an organization level and at a personal level. And very well said that, while we have been focusing on depth as professionals, perhaps the time is to also look at breadth. While the original ethos was that master of one, jack of none, we may have to look at a situation where we might still have to be jack of all, but master of one. In that sense, our domain strength, but also be on the breadth side in terms of appreciating different aspects. Again, a cornerstone of adaptability. I'll go to I, and Mandar, you are in agri-business. You have a lot of external vagaries that can affect your business. Just today's morning, Economic Times, I was reading that the monsoon forecast in India is not so bright, and perhaps agriculture may contract in terms of our GDP as a forecast. How do you deal as a CFO in such situations where you have so much external implications affecting your P&L?
I think to this question, typically, what we internally jokingly say is that, all of us are actually, playing a role of Baga in the Lagan, Barish Kab Aayegi. So I think that's where it stands. And, we always know that weather is or climate is one of the significant factor as far as the agri-business is concerned. But, and especially in this year when it is said that it's going to be an El Nino or even a super El Nino year, apart from what all other external factors which are already kind of, creating impact across the value chain. And when I say value chain, because the agri-business where I'm leading, it spans across right from seeds, crop care, fruits, and micro irrigation. And given the seasonality of the business itself, it creates a, I would say, implicit lot of variables which are there, not only the external but the internal as well. So to answer your question, while weather and climate remains one of the most difficult variable to predict eventually, and especially in a year like this, what we have been doing is, we take almost every day as a new day, right? And especially, where the window of the business is very, very small. For example, in our grapes business, the harvesting period and an exporting period, given the perishable nature of the commodity, it's only 45 to 60 days window. A seeds business, it's a couple of weeks kind of business where the harvesting actually, the sowing period is actually starting. Similar for my irrigation business, which is largely a subsidy dependent business, which again is not controllable from a government point of view. So I think what we have been doing is, we have crashed, forecasting cycles from an annual to kind of, more or less weekly. I think in the current situation of an BANI, where everything remains incomprehensible, I think what remains for a CFO or a finance organization, that they can do is to ensure that take every day as a new day. And CFOs and the chartered accountants need to rise to this occasion. It is no longer about past. It is about identifying the trends, identifying what developments are happening across the value chain, and ensuring that the organization is resilient and be ready for that.
Perfect. I think the stated answer is what Mandar said in terms of the mitigant to incomprehensible is, accepting the fact that we are living in such times, being aware to that feature, and then response should be swift and decisive. What is the stated position from a I perspective. I'll quickly go to the theme that cuts across BANI, and that is AI. Right? That's the elephant in the room in terms of how does it affect us individuals. And on this point, I want, feedback of all panelists, starting with Nanda sir. Sir, how do you see AI impacting? There's a lot of noise. Should we be scared? Should we adopt it? You have the ring fence view as a past president of ICAI, and help us navigate this.
Very importantly, people are apprehensive. Any new change, any new revolution that comes is met with resistance. I can say on record that technology has never eradicated professionals. Rather, it has empowered them. It has transformed them. AI is something to stay with. I have panelists on Mandharji who very rightly said the use of AI in agriculture. I'll give an example. You would have heard that in Punjab and in Haryana, there have been cases of farmers dying with cancer because of indiscriminate use of pesticides and fertilizers. You'll be happy to know 3 years from now, there will be no such unfortunate deaths, because now AI will decide how much fertilizer or pesticide has to be put at what place. Something which human mind could never comprehend. Go on to Reliance. Valuation of gas and oil. Human always had ideas how much will be stuck in the pipes. How would it go when a long pipeline is running? How much is wasted? A calculation is very simple by AI. Going on to madam who comes from an NBFC. I'll tell you one great thing. When you draw IRR from investments, for example, you want to change a shift from future to call. So in call, the valuation has to be done as per theta, beta, gamma time value, which is a very, very tedious exercise. Today, in a click of button, this is the time, this is the volatility of the market, and this is the outcome of return which you get. Within 5 models, you can understand IRR is higher in this. You can always switch there. Mr. Anand, who comes from investment banking background, everything, valuations, systems, distribution, everything is on the basis of AI. As professionals, how much we have gained. I want to tell you, AI is an enabler. You can't go ahead and take it as something that will damage you. Rather, it will help you. It will facilitate your working.
Mr. Raj, you have been at the forefront of adopting AI in your organization. I know that, in terms of the impact that AI has on financial reporting at Reliance. Of course, you need not share specifics, but guide us in terms of, as a finance function, how should one go about with adopting AI and leveraging the finance function?
So firstly, I think no one is asking the question whether you can live without AI and whether human can be better than AI. I think that question is not asked because all of us know that AI is far superior. Humans cannot compete with AI. And the way AI can perform a function, human will never do it. I give you a simple use case. And since we are chartered accountants, we will be able to understand this, or like audit. Simple in an audit function, first of all, this is a post facto. After a certain period, the audit team will go, and it is simple, like in procurement audit, you will find out whether a particular material has been purchased at different rates, and if the variance is more than 1%, 2%, 3%, based on that, you will find out why it is so. And then you will put up a report stating that their material has been purchased at different rates at different points of time, and what is the reason thereof.
Yeah, which takes to a very interesting point, Mr. Raj, and maybe Mandar, you can chime in here. Today, if a chartered accountant is starting his career and is directly in the AI mode, and you don't want him to do the conventional way of going through the section and then going point by point and researching on a judgment, how will he, after 10 years, develop that critical mindset, judgment, etc., to challenge what an AI is doing?
I think very valid question. And what I believe now is that, as Mr. Raj also adhere to it, that it is no longer an kind of an option for anyone to kind of, whether to adopt AI or not. A 21-year-old chartered accountant walking into an organization will be more equipped with an AI terminology and even a hands-on in terms of how to kind of give the prompts and get the answers in few minutes than somebody who is a 25 years experience CFO sitting in the organization for a long time. So it's important that everybody upskill in the process, but at the same time, what you rightly said is that the human in the loop, the judgment factor, the contextual judgment, it's not only a judgment, but it's more a contextual judgment, and eventually the trust which a CFO will bring to the table for all the stakeholders cannot be replaced.
Interesting.
Just to add,
Yes.
I think AI will not replace humans, but for sure humans using AI will replace humans not using AI. That's just what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Which level will that impact be significant? At top level, middle level, or lower level? Where do you see the disruption of AI being most impactful?
So I think definitely it will be useful for, I think, operationalizing and automating the tasks which are more repetitive. Internet, I think, revolutionized communication. To my mind, AI will revolutionize a lot of input on basis of which decision making is made. So I see a lot of impact down the pyramid, but I see a lot of enablement as you move up the ladder.
Amazing. Friends, I think all of us will agree. We have had a lot of value from this panel. I think, once again, a round of applause for our panelists over here. Thank you so much for being a patient audience. Thank you.